earlier, this will be the 274th booster landing and 200th consecutive booster landing. I believe the last landing failure was on Starlink group. Sorry, it wasn't even group at that point. It was.
Yeah, it was the first generation, right?
Yeah.
Did you pause?
Yeah. Version
Starlink,
1, launch 19.
Yeah, V1.0 L19. For some reason I was thinking L22. So then it was like, I should go check my spreadsheet to make sure I say that right. But yeah, Starlink 19, which launched on February 16th, 2021. So ironically, 3 years ago from tomorrow.
Let's hope that doesn't like have any influence on today.
Yeah.
That would be very preferable. Yeah, but like overall, also Alex pointing out, which a fact I really like, and I wonder why that happening is the previous Group 7 launches had a 640 kilometer downrange drone chip. This one is 32 kilometers closer. So my thinking is this might be down to some mass reduction in the payload, possibly, because like there's two things what could happen here. Either you burn the booster shorter, or you have like there's different how you come to that point, but there has to be some change why you suddenly have to do 32 kilometers less downrange, right?
I suspect it's probably trajectory changes. Right, we've seen SpaceX make really minor adjustments to the launch profile.
I definitely just typed in the back channel, if you jinxed us, Trevor, I'm gonna slap you.
Increase.
I'm still embarrassed from the D20 thing, to be honest, though. But, you know.
It was maybe flying a bit shallower, which allowed them to, you know, not have as long to coast down range, so that's why it would be a bit closer. Or it could be, you know, something more minor than that. We'll have to, well, hopefully Alex will analyze the trajectory and get us an answer of where it comes from.
Many hours of wow, hell yeah, dude.
Anyway.
Absolutely. Devin?
Wolfie, I'll be honest, I don't know too much about the serial numbers with those Model Ms, but it's good to know.
Yeah, so I guess it's probably worth going over, Adrian. What are the events that we're expecting from now up until liftoff of the vehicle?
So right now the Falcon 9 is already starting to engine chill, which means it preconditions everything related to the engines for the flow of cold propellants. So that's going on there. You can see the timeline. Then, of course, next is the retraction of the strong bag. The strong bag gives the rocket stability right now. And in about 2 minutes from now, it will open its clamps and then slightly retract first before it will, of course, completely retract very close to launch, actually during launch. And then we have wrapping up of both the second and first stage LOX loading very, very shortly before launch. And then 1 minute before launch, Falcon 9 will enter startup. Startup means basically the Falcon 9 launch computer takes over the countdown, and from there on out, the Falcon 9 is kind of in this autonomous state where it controls itself and basically performs the launch. So it's kind of like a handoff to from the mission control to Falcon 9.
Right. And one minor correction there, the Vandy TE does not throw back. It stays there at that same position for launch, unlike the two TEs on the East Coast, which have that throwback style. It's pretty surprising, in my opinion, that SpaceX hasn't decided to switch it out, but I guess, you know, it's good enough. Going back to some of your questions, reminder, if you have any, you can tag us in chat with @.
Alright, we're going to switch off the NSF stuff there, because the... Yeah, let's do it over here. There we go.
Tanks are pressing for strongback retract.
Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the Starlink 7-14. Beautiful launch out there in Vandenberg. This was the third launch that was supposed to go yesterday, but it did scrub, and I believe the scrub was due to weather. So we're at T-minus 4 minutes here. Strongback is moving back into the 87-degree retracted position here. This is the West Coast, David. Yep. Strongback and TE are interchangeable, Katra. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interchangeable term. They mean the same thing. Yeah, no problem, Jim. I'm happy I could be embarrassed more. Something's out there.
Stage 1, locks load complete.
Huh. I don't know what that is. You won't be able to see it, Sad. You're working. Pretty impressive that SpaceX can sustain such a high frequency from this old of a pad that doesn't throw back. Yeah. When is Satisfactory coming back, Ruby? You want me to play more? I'm on a binge though with workers right now. We could play more Satisfactory. I mean, coming up to the 1.0 release, oh yeah, we'll jump back in. Absolutely. Only workers till you build cars. It's getting to 1.0, Bellum. Yep. T-minus 2 minutes.
Stage 2, locks load complete.
Stage 2, locks load is complete. Watch. Kind of behind me. Yep, there it is. There's the gas closeout. They're evacuating the fuel and oxidizer lines to the second stage there that are up the transporter erector, the gray structure to the side of the rocket. You don't want fuel and oxidizer in your launch pad. You want it in your rocket. So they're getting all that out there so the launch pad doesn't light on fire. Yeah, you don't want that. I'm pretty sure you don't want that.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Okay, T-minus 1 minute. Falcon 9 is in startup. You want the fuel to be stored in the balls. That's right. Yep. Where's the pad? Right there.
LD is go for launch.
LD reports go. T-minus 40 seconds and counting. In the world, this is Slick 4E at Vandenberg Air Force Base. It is about 100 miles northwest of Los Angeles. 160 kilometers northwest for metric folks. California, the California coast is beautiful, man.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Fun fact, you see right down there, beyond that hangar?
10, 9,
Discovery,
8,
go
I've driven the truck right there.
6, 5,
Sound suppressor is
4,
on.
3,
Engine ignition.
2, 1, ignition. And lift off.
Lift off, 7-14, there we go.
Go SpaceX.
Good launch, 714 out of Vandenberg. Third Falcon 9 in 24 hours.
M1D chamber pressures are nominal.
Vehicle's pitching downrange. There's the roll. Fun fact, there's the landing pad, former Slick 4W. That's LZ4 right there. If this was doing a return to launch site, it would be landing there. This is not an RTLS, this is a drone ship landing. And the 300th launch of Falcon. Pretty dang good, man.
Power and telemetry is nominal.
Power and telemetry is good.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
That's Slick 3 over there. Slick 3 East. Slick 3 West. That's Atlas's and Vulcan's launch pad. And Slick 2 is over there, where Firefly launches from. Right there. That's Lompoc, California right there. Here's the runway at Vandenberg. I hope, Tessa. T plus 93 seconds. Everything's looking good here. No, one pad at Vandenberg, Shaw. We saw one from 40 and 39A yesterday. This one was the one that scrubbed yesterday. Yep. Beautiful day out there in California. Look at that. Should be seeing Santa Barbara, California over there on the right. At the very top right of your screen. The Pacific Coast Highway goes, actually you could see it. It's right there. It goes up here and then it takes a right up through the mountains. One of the most beautiful drives in the entire world. Easily.
Go.
There's main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hey, Kippy. 25. Good upper stage ignition there. First stage will now use its nitrogen control thrusters, those puffs that you see over there, to reorient business end first for entry, descent, and landing. Fairing separation.
Fairing separation confirmed.
There it is. Good sep there, exposing the Starlink satellites to the vacuum. Everything looks good here, dudes. Excuse me. I don't see much out of the ordinary here. How's fairing recovery going these days? Very good. I think they have a fairing that they've reused 12 or 13 times or something. I just hope we get views like this on IFT3. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. What's that island? Those are the, they're called, what are they called, guys? Like Catalina Island and all the other islands that are just off the coast of California? Channel Islands? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Channel Islands. Frickin' Catalina wine mixer. It's a Catalina wine mixer, okay?
Nominal trajectory.
Yeah, Iger, there's a bunch of islands off the coast of Los Angeles. Pa! 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 Like Kobayashi, baby. Yep, there's San Diego right there. And they cut the camera. Ugh! See? There's San Diego, there's Coronado Island right there. That's Tijuana right there, and then there's the Baja Peninsula. My leg. Here comes the best part. The best part. Supersonic retro propulsion. It's happening right now. Okay, grid fins.
Stage 1.
Locked
entry
in.
burn startup.
There we go. 1 engine. 3 engines. Decelerating the first stage. Back to 1
Stage
engine
entry burn shutdown.
and shut down. Yeah, camera got a little bit of rolled coal right there.
Stage 1 FTS has safed.
Okay, now the grid fins will do their part. 7:05 into the flight. Everything looking good on Starlink 714 here. Cresting 18,000 kilometers an hour on the second stage at 155. First stage. Oh man, it's getting a little rowdy.
Stage 2 FTS is saved. Stage 1 transonic.
Wow, how's that for turbulence? Nathan, you see that? How's that for turbulence? The thing was like, Look at the grid fins. This thing's cut in the air like a knife. Look at that. It happens every once in a while, drummer. There's the drone ship. It's under the left grid fin. See it right there? Okay.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Landing burn is started.
Second stage in terminal guidance.
Second stage is closed loop. Oh man, there's some chop out there in the Pacific today. Landing legs.
Landing leg deployed.
Dead center. Dead center in rough seas,
Stage 1
dude.
landing confirmed.
You gotta be kidding me. Look at how rough the seas are. You gotta be kidding me. That was sick. Wow. Dude, that was buttery smooth. Did you see the drone ship was going like this? Oh.
Eco 1.
There's Seco 1, and they'll usually cut the cast here. Stand by for the call for NOI. Don't cut it. Don't cut it. No. Meth lab for cutie. Okay, what was your question? Hey, on the first stage, there is the steep drop-off in speed after re-entry only due to friction. It's not friction. Your mind's in the right place, but it's not friction. It's compression. So, air is compressing up against the booster. And coincidentally, if you compress air enough against the booster fast enough, that's going to cause re-entry heating, right? But aerodynamic compression when you're going, like, after the entry burn is going to cause insane amounts of drag. In fact, fun fact, the grid fins are designed to basically, I said the air is cutting like a knife. That's what the grid fins do. Now, the grid fins do cause a lot of drag, but they also, you can steer the air with those things. But it's aerodynamic compression that's causing drag on the booster. Basically, the front of the booster, all the air is getting like pushed up into those rocket engines that aren't firing, right? And the air just basically stays there. It stays compressed there. You get high pressure on the front of the booster. And because you get high pressure up on the front and the booster pushes the air out of the way, there's really low pressure behind it. That pressure differential is going to create a ton of drag. So now here's the thing. Okay, so it's enough to decelerate it that much? Yeah, because you're going through an atmospheric gradient. You get closer to the ground, more air gets in the way, more compression, more drag. That's why like a an airliner, right, if it goes up, the cabin has to pressurize because you can't breathe up there. Once you get up above 10,000 feet, or about 3,300 meters, you're not going to do, your lungs don't lung very well. For the same reasons, you know? Pretty cool, huh? That'd be nice, MK, right? So yeah, it's not friction. Friction doesn't cause re-entry heating. It's compression. So you're compressing the air. Did they announce that they aren't going to build as many Falcon 9s? Well, Sasquatch, Falcon 9, we got Falcon 9 deep into the 2030s per the NSSL contracts that are existing. Deep into the 2030s. Falcon 9 is going to be flying for a little while. Here's the cool thing about Falcon 9. The same production line makes the first and second stages. They're made out of very similar components. Think about in Kerbal, like if you have a first stage, if you have one type of fuel tank, right? Say you're using a Rocco Max 32. So that's the 2.5 core, that's not the full orange tank, but half of that. Say you only have that to build a launch vehicle. Your second stage is just one of those tanks, right? And your first stage is like 4 of them, right? That's how Falcon 9 is basically built, except they're not each individual fuel tanks. They're called barrel segments. I'll see if I can find a picture of one. Well, these are extremely, extremely, extremely old pictures, but whatever. See the barrels? Those are really, really old pictures. That's like Falcon 9 1.0. That, you know what? That's not even a good thing to show. That's so ridiculously outdated. They do not make those that way. I'm trying to find a barrel. Yeah, no, that's not really good.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Well, we can look at this picture of the first stage. So you can see that the bulkhead is right there. That's the CBH. The CBH is a structural component. But if you kind of look at where the lines are on this thing, the LOX tank is 3 barrel segments long. The RP1 tank is 2 barrel segments long. Guess how long the second stage is? It's 1 barrel segment. Yeah, 1. There's 3 barrel segments there, and these are just cylinders of aluminum, right? And then they just butt them up together and stir weld it. And then at the bottom of the 3 barrels, you put the CBH, and then 2 more barrels, and then you have the bottom of the RP1 tank, and then the thrust structure. See how modular the design is, though? The assembly line can just go back and forth between building first and second stages. So, dude, it's going to be flying for a long time, but we don't have to worry about screwing your supply line because you're partially reusable. But the same assembly line builds first and second stages. Easy peasy. Hey, Benjam, what's up, dude? Is this the same for ablator heat shields? Yeah, absolutely. So what happens with an ablator is that you basically get a dead zone in front of the heat shield, okay? You get a dead zone in front of it, basically where just air is compressed and it stays there, right? It's just kind of stuck between the heat shield and, well, other air that's kind of pushing up against it. Now, that air that's pushing up against it, that's going to go from, laminar to instantly compressed really, really fast. And because of that, you get a plasma wake. But you're always going to get a plasma wake that's kind of a little bit off from your heat shield. Now, here's the thing. That plasma wake, plasma's hot. I don't know if you knew that. It's hot. You get a lot of heat. A lot of heat, right? That heats up that compressed air, and that's enough to burn that heat shield. What an ablator heat shield does is it burns. It burns off. That's what ablation is, right? It uses that heat from the plasma to burn the heat shield. When the heat shield burns, it releases gas. When that gas gets released, it pushes the air out of the way. And it shields the capsule, because it's pushing the air up out of the way. It shields the capsule in a really cool column or a cool pocket of air. That's how we do it. That's how they've been doing it since the 60s. Do they use cork? Cork is used all over the place in the aerospace industry for thermal protection systems. Fun fact, you're looking at some cork right there. The bottom of the thrust structure, in between the thermal blankets here, it's all cork. Always has been. See that? All cork. I assume Falcon 9 is affected by winds just like any other aircraft, so how does Falcon 9 or any of the rocket compensate for crosswinds? That has to do with the guidance system. So you have a pre-programmed trajectory into the vehicle, right? And uncapping, here's the thing. Just like a person or a pilot would look out the window and see that they're not flying the right course and make an adjustment, that's what the computer does. But how does the computer know? The computer doesn't have eyes. It uses the acceleration of the vehicle, and it uses the inertial measuring units to measure how close you are to the track. That has a lot to do with what closed loop guidance actually does. Closed loop guidance basically means the vehicle is flying with terminal, like it's flying in terminal guidance, which basically means it's not communicating with anything on the ground, and it's just using its onboard acceleration to extrapolate its trajectory. Guidance systems constantly do this, and they check against themselves. This is the really simplified way of explaining this, so also don't explain guidance systems, right? It basically, if a gust of wind kind of pushes it off course, it'll correct. Because it's not just wind. Wind isn't the only perturbing force. Rocket engines aren't... Here's the thing about the engines. They're not always completely 100% exact. Commanding like 100% of thrust from the engine might get you 99.9%. And because the margins are so ridiculously razor thin with a rocket, right? It's not the wind isn't the only thing that the guidance systems has to correct for. For instance, if it's commanding like 100% out of the engines and it gets 100.5%, you're going to overperform. You know how, uncapping, you know how I always say overperformance is bad? Well, this is one of the reasons. I hope your guidance system can compensate. Right? Basically, it checks against itself using onboard accelerometers. It's the same kind of thing like with your phone, that if you turn it sideways, it'll rotate the screen. Same idea. It's exactly the same, actually. Well, not exactly the same, but you get the idea. Good question, though. Really good question. Yeah, there's a barrel segment. That's, once again, those are older barrel segments, but, yep. See them right there? The same barrel segment makes the first and second stage. Same assembly line. They can just swap between making that, which is a second stage part, and that's a straight full barrel from the first stage. It's all made on the same equipment, which is extremely smart. This is from a NASA video from 2019. Thomas, I know that's in response to me saying those are a little bit outdated. I got some news for you. 2019 was 5 years ago. Just saying. Don't remind me, please. I got some news for you, bruh. I miss my welding days back in the 90s. Used to weld titanium and aluminum frequently. Were you TIGging, Varix? TIG welding? These guys are stir welding things. I don't know if you have any experience in stirring. Ugh. Nice, W. That's cool. Always TIG? Right on, man. Dude, TIGging is a freaking art. I would love to learn how to do it, dude. I gotta learn that. Because picking up trades is based Also, my buddy An is doing some pretty crazy stuff down in Florida here. You guys might appreciate this. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's my buddy An. He's pretty cool.